dust devils dance like vengeful spirits across the sun-baked plains of Bitter Creek, Arizona territory, whipping red earth into the air as thunderheads gathered low on the horizon. Before we ride into tonight's story, take a moment to like this tale, subscribe for more epic Old West stories, and share it with someone who loves a good frontier legend. And tell me in the comments, where are you listening from tonight? Now, settle in. Our story begins. Marshal Elias Thorne reined in his weary bay gelding at the edge of Rattlesnake Gulch, his eyes narrowing against the glare. Below him sprawled the ramshackle town of Dead Man's Crossing, a cluster of weathered saloons, a livery stable sagging under its own weight, and clapboard storefronts baked brittle by years of merciless sun. Folks said the place got its name from the crows that picked clean the bones of men who crossed the wrong shadow. Thorne knew it firsthand. He'd buried too many there. He adjusted the tin star pinned to his vest, its edges dulled by the grind of frontier justice. At 42, Elias was a tall man, lean as a rifle barrel, with a jaw carved from granite and eyes like chipped flint, eyes that had seen betrayal carved deeper than any bullet. 20 years back, he'd ridden with Caleb, Blackjack Harlan, two greenhorns chasing gold dreams in the Sierra Madres. They'd sworn blood oaths over campfires, sharing jerky and tales of women left behind. But Caleb had vanished one dawn with the claim stakes and Elias's fiancée, Susanna, riding off into the haze. The wound never healed, and it festered into a legend whispered in every saloon from Tucson to Tombstone. Today, that legend rode back into Dead Man's Crossing. Word had spread like prairie fire. Blackjack Harlan was returning, flush with ill-gotten silver from Mexican mines, buying up the town with promises of a new vein up in the superstitions. The saloon girls tittered about his black stallion and pearl-handled colts. The ranchers grumbled over fences he'd already strung across their grazing lands. And Elias, he'd sent the challenge at dawn, a note nailed to the door of the Golden Nugget Saloon. Midday tomorrow, Main Street, for the old score, no seconds. Thorne. Everyone knew how it'd end. Thorne was the law here, unbent by years of hanging rustlers and outdrawing claim jumpers. Harlan was a ghost story, all bluster and no bite. Bets in the saloon ran 10-1 in Elias's favor. But as he spurred his horse down the gulch trail, a crow cawed overhead, and doubt gnawed at him like a coyote on carrion. Why now? Why here, after 2 decades? The streets of Dead Man's Crossing, baked under the late afternoon sun as Thorne rode in. Mercantile doors creaked open, faces peering from shadowed interiors, miners with pickaxe scars, soiled doves in faded calico, a one-eyed gambler spitting tobacco juice. They nodded warily. The marshal was their shield against the chaos spilling over from the silver strikes. He tied off at the livery where old Zeke mucked stalls, his mule braying a greeting. "Marshal," Zeke rasped, wiping sweat from his brow. "Heard about the duel. Harlan's in the Nugget now, holding court like he's king of creation." Thorne flipped him a silver piso. "Keep my horse fresh. Might need him quick." Inside the Golden Nugget, the air hung thick with tobacco smoke, stale beer, and the sour tang of unwashed bodies. A piano plinked a mournful tune. The ivories yellowed as old teeth. Patrons hunched over cards and whiskey, their murmurs dying as Thorne pushed through the bat-wing doors. At the far end, sprawled in a booth like a rancher surveying his spread, sat Caleb Harlan. He hadn't changed much, broad-shouldered, with a black mustache curling like a rattler's tail, and eyes sharp as Spanish spurs. A fresh scar traced his cheek, and twin pearl-handled revolvers gleamed on the table, cleaned and oiled. Caleb raised a glass, his voice booming smooth as aged bourbon. "Elias Thorne! Been a spell, brother. Whiskey?" The saloon fell silent, breaths held. Thorne's hand hovered near his own holstered Schofield, the butt worn smooth from use. "No brotherhood left between us, Caleb. You stole more than gold that year. Susanna's grave back in Tucson, don't lie." Caleb's laugh echoed off the rafters, but his eyes flickered, betrayal's shadow crossing them. "Susanna, she chose her path, Elias. Rode off willingly. You were off chasing phantoms in the hills. But this town's mine now. Silver makes a man forget old ghosts." Thorne stepped closer, boots thudding on warped pine planks. "Midday tomorrow, Main Street. You show, or I drag you out." Caleb leaned forward, voice dropping to a whisper that carried. "And if I win, this badge comes off, and Dead Man's Crossing breathes free." The crowd murmured approval. Harlan had been slipping them free drinks, whispering of toll-free trails and open claims. Thorne felt the noose of doubt tighten. Was this more than a grudge? He turned to leave, but a wiry figure slipped from the shadows. Lila Voss, the saloon songbird, her red hair pinned with a raven feather, eyes green as canyon jade. She'd been Susanna's shadow once, riding scout for their outfit. "Marshall," she murmured, close enough for him to smell lilac water and gun oil. "Caleb ain't alone. Riders been comin' in at night, shadowy sorts from down Sonora way. Watch your back." Thorne nodded, filing it away. Betrayal bred in the dark. Night fell like a shroud over Deadman's Crossing, stars pricking the velvet sky, as wind moaned through the arroyos. Thorne sat alone in his office, a lantern flickering on maps of disputed claims. Harlan's return wasn't random. The man had sunk roots here fast, so allying with the territorial governor's nephew, a slick Easterner named Percival Drake, who'd arrived with carpetbags and federal land grants. Whispers said Drake was funneling army contracts through Harlan's mines, skimming ore for private coffers. If Thorne fell tomorrow, the Marshal Star would go to Drake's man, and the town would bleed dry. A knock rattled the door. Lila Voss slipped in, her calico dress whispering against the floorboards. She poured coffee from his pot, black as midnight. "Can't sleep neither, huh? Caleb's got secrets, Elias. Back in '68, after he left you, Susanna begged me to ride after. Found her in a Juarez cantina, weepin'. Said Caleb betrayed not just you, promised her the moon, then sold her to a bandito chief for a map to the Lost Dutchman." Thorne's fist clenched on the tin mug. "Why tell me now?" Her eyes met his, steady. "'Cause betrayal's a chain. He's planning something tomorrow. More than pistols. Drake's boys'll be watchin'. And there's a woman, Harlan's got a new dove, calls herself Maria. Came up from Mexico with a fortune in jewelry. Ain't right." He stood pulling on his hat. "Stay clear of the street at noon." She touched his arm, voice soft. "Honor won't save you if it's all a lie, Marshal." Dawn broke bloody over the desert, painting the buttes in crimson as Thorne saddled up for a last patrol. The town stirred, cooks stoking fires behind the boarding house, prospectors shouldering packs for the hills. He rode out to the old cemetery on Boot Hill, where crooked crosses leaned like drunken sentinels. Susanna's stone read, "Beloved, lost to the wind." Kneeling, he traced the letters. Eke the theme of betrayal burning in his gut. Caleb hadn't just taken her. He'd twisted her memory into a noose around Elias's neck. Hoofbeats echoed from the trail. Thorne spun, hand flashing to iron, but it was only Doc Harlan, no relation, a grizzled surgeon with a medicine bag and a limp from Shiloh. "Marshal, got word from a rider. Harlan's called in markers. 5 men holed up in the Box Canyon. They ain't for the duel." Thorne mounted swift. "Then it's war before noon." The Box Canyon loomed like a stone jaw, mesquite thickets clawing at the sky. Thorn crept through the scrub, the sun climbing merciless. Voices drifted, rough, laced with Spanish. Peering over a ledge, he saw them. 5 hard cases around a smoldering campfire. Bandoliers heavy, Winchesters propped nearby. Caleb Harlan stood among them, gesturing sharp. "Thorn draws first. Always does," Caleb said. "You boys wait for my signal, 2 shots from the street. Then ride in and finish it. Drake pays double for clean work." One rider, a scar-faced vaquero, named Rico, spat into the fire. "And the woman? Maria says you promised her Thorn's head." Caleb's grin twisted. "Maria's my ace. She'll distract him." Old flames echo. "Betrayal's the sweetest revenge, boys." Thorn's blood ran cold. Maria? He slipped back, heart pounding. The duel was a sham, a setup for ambush. But why the public challenge? To lure him out, make it look like justice served. In Lila's warning, had she known more? Galloping back to town, dust trailing like a comet, Thorn burst into the nugget. Empty now, save for the barkeep sweeping. "Where's Lila?" The man shrugged. "Saw her head into Harlan's room upstairs. Said something about settling scores." Thorn took the stairs 2 at a time, Colt drawn. The door at the end hung ajar. Inside, chaos. Chairs overturned, a lantern shattered, blood streaking the wall. Lila lay sprawled, a knife in her ribs, gasping. "Elias, Maria, she's Caleb's sister. Come for revenge. Betrayed us all." Her eyes glazed. Thorn whirled as boots thumped below, the ambush closing in. Noon approached, and the street waited. But now he knew. The duel no one saw coming was just the spark. What hand would fire first? And who would it truly betray? The grandfather clock in the Golden Nugget struck 12, its chime slicing through the tension like a Bowie knife as the sun hammered Dead Man's Crossing into submission. Main Street baked empty. My shutters slammed tight against the coming storm. Townsfolk, barricaded in boarding houses and mercantiles, peeking through cracks like frightened prairie dogs. A hot wind scoured the dirt road, kicking up whirls of dust that stung eyes and choked throats. Marshal Elias Thorn stood dead center, Schofield revolver loose in his holster, sweat tracing lines down his dust-caked face. His bay gelding was stabled a mile out, hidden in case lead flew wild. Betrayal hung in the air thicker than the heat. Lila's dying words echoed. Maria's Caleb's sister. Betrayed us all. From the saloon end of the street emerged Caleb Harlan, striding deliberate, pearl-handled Colts tied low on his hips. Flanking him at a distance, shadows in doorways. Percival Drake's men, 3 of them, hard-eyed gun hands with shotguns cradled casual. The vaqueros from the canyon lurked unseen, no doubt circling like wolves. Elias scanned the rooftops, the alleys. Every glint of metal could spell his end. Caleb stopped 20 paces off, boots planted wide, mustache twitching in a predator's smile. "Elias," Caleb called, voice carrying clear over the wind. "Last chance to holster that tin star and ride. Town's changin'. Silver flows to those who grab it." Thorn's fingers flexed near his grip. "You set this stage 20 years back, Caleb. Stole my claim, my woman. Now you buy the town and call it progress? Draw." Caleb chuckled low. "Susanna rode with me, 'cause you were blind, brother. Chasin' fools' gold while I built empires. But this?" He gestured to the silent street. "This is for the legend. They expect me to gun you down. Make me mayor by acclamation. Betrayal's just the price of progress." Thunder grumbled distant, lightning forking over the superstitions. Elias's mind raced. Lila's blood on the nugget floor. The ambush signal. He needed to upend it, turn the betrayal inward. "Her different from a ghost," he said steady. "Maria ain't your dove. She's your blood. Sister, ride in vengeance for some old wrong. Lila saw her knife you both. Caleb's face tightened, a crack in the armor. Lies from a dying whore. Draw, Thorn. Hands blurred. Thorn Schofield barked first. Lead splintering Caleb's holster. Shattering pearl and powder. Caleb fired wild, bullet-kicking dirt at Elias's boot. The marshal dove left, rolling behind a water trough as Drake's men erupted from cover. Shotguns booming. Buckshot shredded the trough, water exploding in misty jets. Elias snapped off 2 rounds, one dropping a gun hand, clutching his knee, the other pinging off a hitching post. "Ambush!" a voice yelled from a window. The one-eyed gambler, waving a Spencer rifle. Townsfolk hesitated, then rifles cracked from upper stories, pinning Drake's crew. Chaos bloomed, horses bolting riderless, glass shattering, screams piercing the din. Caleb bolted for the saloon's cover, but Elias was faster, lunging up, tackling him into the dust. They grappled fierce, fists flying, boots grinding gravel. Caleb's knee drove into Thorn's gut, air exploding from his lungs. "You always were slow, Elias," Caleb snarled, drawing a hideout derringer. Thorn headbutted him, stars bursting, then pinned the arm. "Who's the puppet now? Drake pulling your strings? Or Maria?" Caleb spat blood, laughing mad. "You think it's that simple?" "Maria's no sister!" Hoofbeats thundered from the alley. The vaqueros charged, Rico leading, Winchester spitting flame. Bullets chewed the street, forcing Thorn to release and scramble. Caleb rolled free, derringer flashing, a graze along Elias's shoulder, hot as branding iron. Pain fueled rage. Thorn fired from the hip, dropping Rico's horse. The vaquero tumbled, cursing in Spanish as his mount thrashed. The street devolved into bedlam, a full gunfight under the brewing storm. Townsfolk poured lead from windows, dropping 2 more ambushers. Drake himself appeared on the mercantile porch, a silver-headed cane in one hand, Navy Colt in the other. "Enough!" he bellowed, voice East Coast crisp. "Harlan, finish it!" But Caleb wavered, eyes darting. Betrayal's chain snapped taut. From the Nugget's upper window, a figure appeared. Maria, raven hair loose, a repeating Henry rifle leveled. She wasn't the frail dove Lila described. Scars crisscrossed her arms, and her eyes burned with old hate. "Caleb," she screamed, "you promised no duel. Thorn dies by my hand. For Mama." The revelation hit like lightning. "Mama, Susanna!" Thorn staggered behind an overturned wagon, reloading frantic. Caleb whirled toward her. "Maria, no. Drake's orders." She fired. The bullet meant for Thorn caught Caleb high in the chest, staggering him back. He clutched the wound, shock twisting his face. "You betrayed me? After all?" Maria laughed bitter, rifle tracking Elias. "Like you betrayed Mama in Juarez, sold her to die in that mine collapse for the map. Lila told me everything before I silenced her." Thunder cracked overhead, rain sheeting sudden and violent, turning the street to red mud. Lightning illuminated the tableau. Caleb on his knees, Drake fleeing for his horse, vaqueros scattering. Thorn rose, Schofield steady on Maria. "Drop it, miss. Story's done." She spun toward him, Henry barking. He dove, mud splashing, and fired true, her rifle spinning from numbed hands. But Caleb, defiant in death's grip, lunged up, derringer spitting. The shot caught Thorn's hat, pinning it to the wagon. Elias whirled, putting 2 into Caleb's legs. Harlan collapsed, gasping. The rain pounded merciless, washing blood into gutters. Townsfolk emerged cautious, rifles lowered. Doc Harlan pushed through, kneeling by Caleb. "He's done, Marshal. Lung shot." Caleb gripped Thorn's boot, voice a rattle. "Elias, Drake's the snake. Secret vein, under the town. He hired me to clear you. Alliance was lie. Maria, my daughter, not sister. Susanna's blood, betrayed me to him. Daughter?" The world tilted. Thorn knelt, rain mingling with tears. "Why the duel?" "Legend," Caleb wheezed. "Draw you out, kill 2 birds. But you, always tougher." His eyes dimmed, body slumping into the mud. Maria sobbed, hands raised in surrender. But as Thorn turned to cuff her, a rifle shot cracked from the livery roof. Drake escaped and perched like a vulture. Pain bloomed in Elias's side. He crumpled, vision blurring. Townsfolk fired wild, but Drake vanished into the storm. Doc pressed cloth to the wound. "You'll live, Marshal," but Drake's gone to ground. Thorn gasped through the agony, staring at Caleb's body. Betrayal layered upon betrayal. Lifelong rival, secret child, puppet master pulling strings. Who had truly won the street? And where had Drake ridden? To rally more shadows, or to unearth the vein that could doom them all? Lightning clawed the storm-blackened sky over the Superstition Mountains as Marshal Elias Thorn slumped against the sodden wall of Doc Harlan's surgery. Blood seeping through bandages wrapped tight around his ribs. Rain hammered the tin roof like 1,000 drum beats, turning Dead Man's Crossing into a quagmire of mud and regret. Inside, lanterns swung wild, casting jittery shadows on blood-stained tables. Doc worked swift, stitching the furrow Drake's bullet had plowed. A shallow groove, but it burned like hellfire. Thorn gripped the edge, teeth gritted. Betrayal's toll mounted. Caleb dead in the street. Maria chained in the calaboose, her sobs echoing faint through the walls. Daughter to his rival, vengeance born of Susanna's grave sins. But Percival Drake had slipped the noose, riding into the tempest with the secret of a silver vein buried beneath the town itself. "Stay put," Doc growled, tying off the last suture. "Drake's men scattered, but he'll circle back with Federals, or worse. That vein he spoke of, Caleb's map shows it running under the bank vault, blow the town sky high if they dig wrong." Thorn pushed to his feet, world swimming. No time. He's got the map now. He buckled on his Schofield, grabbed a spare Winchester from the rack. Outside, the storm raged fiercer, wind howling through canyons like damned souls. Townsfolk huddled in the saloon, nursing wounds and whiskey, their bets forgotten in the bloodletting. The one-eyed gambler, Jed, met him at the door, slicker dripping. "Marshal, we got your back." Drake headed east, toward the old Apache Trail. Rico's boys trailed him, but lightning spooked their mounts. Elias nodded sharp. "Round up volunteers. 6 guns, no more. We ride now, and this." They mounted under the deluge. Jed, Zeke the liveryman on a borrowed mule, 2 miners with dynamite scars, and young Billy Tate, the blacksmith's boy, eyes wide but steady. Maria's confession burned in Thorn's mind. Caleb had sold Susanna to a bandito for the Dutchman map, dooming her in a cave-in. Their child survived, raised in hate, allying with Drake to topple the man who'd abandoned her mother. Betrayal's legacy, twisting generations. The trail wound treacherous into the superstitions. Arroyos swelling to torrents, boulders slick as oiled hides. Lightning revealed glimpses, petroglyphs of thunderbirds on sheer cliffs. Twisted junipers clawing the earth. Hours blurred in the onslaught. Thorn's wound throbbed with each jolt, but survival demanded he press on. Betrayal had stolen his past. He wouldn't let it claim the future. Dawn pierced the clouds like a prospector's pick, steam rising from sodden ground as they crested a ridge. Below sprawled Devil's Kitchen, a sunken basin ringed by hoodoos, steam vents hissing from geothermal fissures. Campfires flickered at the center. Drake's outfit, 12 strong now, reinforced by Sonora mercenaries. Tents clustered around a canvas-covered shaft, lanterns bobbing as men winched up ore samples, glinting silver. Drake stood atop a crate, gesturing imperious. his silk vest mud-spattered but cane gleaming. Thorn glassed them with a spyglass. Drilling started. If that vein taps hot springs, the town's foundations crack. Swallow Dead Man's Crossing whole, Jed spat. Bastards playing God with silver! They circled wide, using washes for cover, picketing horses at the basin's lip. Thorn led the creep down a scree slope, boots silent on wet gravel. Heart pounding, he signaled halt behind a boulder outcrop. Voices carried clear. Harlan's map don't lie, Drake was saying, accent clipped. Vein runs pure, worth millions. Thorn's dead meat once we wire the claim to Washington. Rico laughed guttural. And the woman? Maria. She know the full vein? Drake smirked. She thinks it's revenge. Pawn, like Harlan. Betrayal's efficient. Thorn's blood iced. Maria, chained back home, or freed by Drake's man? No time. He nodded to Billy. Light the dynamite fuses. The boy grinned fierce, sparking lucifers on his thigh. 4 sticks each, wrapped with twine, enough to collapse the shaft. They lobbed them arc-like into the camp. Fuses hissed bright trails through the mist. Drake's head snapped up. Ambush! Explosions ripped the earth. Boom after thunderous boom. The shaft mouth caved spectacularly. Tons of rock tumbling, swallowing tents and 2 mercenaries in a roar of dust and screams. Gunfire erupted wild. Thorn's Winchester cracked steady, dropping a drill hand and wing-clipping Rico. Jed Spencer barked beside him, Zeke's old buffalo gun booming like judgment. They charged from cover, a ragged line in the smoke. Bullets whined past, ricocheting off hoodoos. Billy took lead in the leg, but kept firing, mule-kicking a mercenary into the steam vent, man screaming as scalding water erupted. Thorn pushed forward, eyes locked on Drake, who fired from behind an ore cart, cane discarded. "Would you meddling law dog?" Drake yelled, revolver empty. He drew a derringer, but Thorn was upon him, tackling hard, slamming him into the mud. Fists flew. Drake's rings gashed Elias's cheek, but pain from the wound only sharpened his rage. "For Caleb? That fool rival!" Drake gasped, pinned. "He betrayed you first." Thorn jammed his barrel under Drake's chin. "Caleb's sins ended in the street. Yours poisoned this land. The vein stays buried." A shadow loomed. Maria, rifle in hand, slipping from the chaos, freed somehow, her dress torn, face streaked with grime. "Marshall," she called, voice breaking. "Don't." Papa spoke true. Drake promised justice for Mama. Let me end him. Thorn rose slow, gun steady on both. The remaining mercenaries fled into the scrub, Rico among them, cursing retreat. Billy and the others rounded up survivors, binding wrists with lariats. Jed covered Maria. She dropped the rifle, tears carving tracks in the dirt. "Caleb, he told me lies, said you killed Mama, but Lila's last words." Drake twisted it all. "I betrayed my own blood." Betrayal's circle closed. Rival's daughter, secret child, turned pawn, then avenger. Thorn holstered slow. "Justice ain't vengeance, Maria. Drake hangs. You stand trial." Drake laughed wet, coughing blood. "Fools. Washington knows the vein. More'll come." Thunder rumbled farewell as the posse dragged him up. They rode out under clearing skies. Prisoners lashed to saddles, the basin a smoking ruin behind. Back in Deadman's Crossing, by midday, the sun burned away the last clouds, streets drying to dust once more. Townsfolk cheered ragged, the Duel legend reborn, but twisted true. Thorn nailed Drake's confession to the nugget door. The veins curse, alliances shattered. Maria confessed full, her shot killing Caleb in blind hate, fueled by Drake's poison. She swung from Boot Hill at week's end, eyes forgiving in death. Elias kept the star, but sold his claim, riding north for quieter trails. Betrayal taught its final lesson. Some duels end not with guns, but ghosts laid to rest. Yet as he crested the last ridge, a dust trail followed. Rico, perhaps? Or another shadow? Legends never truly die. In the endless Old West, who rides next to settle the unseen score?